Chris Pirillo's pulsating avatar. And I'm going to try something that might or might not work tonight. Of course, that is usually what I do, try new things all the time. Diana, in listening to this call-in show last night, said, "Why don't you make it about advice?" That's what she sounds like in my head. Why don't you give people advice? I'm like, I don't think anybody wants my advice. I really don't. I could be wrong. Maybe people do want my advice. So if you want to prove Diana right, you can call in and ask for my advice. If you want to prove Diana wrong, don't call in. So we're kind of at odds with one another right now. So I don't know what she was thinking. She tells me that I have good advice for her, and I'm like, yeah, but you don't take it. She said, that's not the point. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll title it something about advice. So then at least we can have some kind of direction with these types of calls. Again, 10-minute limit on the call. If we can, try to stick to that. That'd be great. If you need advice or want advice, because trust me, I have plenty of advice to give. Yes, you can ask for advice in the chat, naturally, and I would respond. Not exactly the same as, the phone call and everything, but it would work. In fact, I am often accused by the same person who's telling me to do an advice call-in show, accused of giving too much advice, unwarranted advice. I'm trying to help. That's like my entire story with Diana is I'm just trying to help. That's it. That's all I'm trying to do. And of course, she battles me for a while, and then years after I've given the advice, she comes to me, somewhat contrite, and says, yeah, you were right. You know how many times I've heard that? I mean, it's not frequently, but very often when I've given advice and suggestions and guidelines to her about, general things, life, and, the way people think, the way people are. Not to say that I'm, the master of that. I'm not. But generally speaking, when she's confronted with a problem, I often have advice. And I'll be the first to tell her, hey, I don't know. That's my problem, is I have no problem saying I don't know. A lot of people who give advice will just flap their gums. You ask me a question, I don't know, I will tell you first, I don't know. So, for example, when David Mancini, is it Mancini? Maybe I got fettuccine on the way. Is it when it's two C's? Sorry, David Mancini. David, we're going to be on a first name basis, buddy. Is now a good time to buy Bitcoin? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't have a coin to bit. The only Bitcoin I think I have is like an actual physical coin, so I don't think that counts. It's been volatile, no doubt about that. I am not someone who's necessarily a huge proponent for cryptocurrency. Hang on just a second. Bah! God, I got everything going on here. Pixie's shaking her head and Jedi's yelling, bah. She knows I was doing a podcast. So if she trots up here and starts giving you her advice, I'd watch out. Because as much as I don't know anything about Bitcoin, she knows even less. I did see something pop into my feed today, and I don't have the source, but give me a second. Boy, that was a wacky typo. No. Wait, hang on. Is she yelling for mama or me? Hang on. Okay, now she's not yelling. I did catch news on Ethereum, and I realized it's not Bitcoin, but it was something that hit my feed. I'm like, oh, I didn't really care that much. It was suggesting that data is pointing to the fact that Ethereum is gearing up for an explosive downside movement. I don't know what that means. I don't think it's good, though. I don't think a downside movement is a good thing. So cryptocurrency in general is interesting to me. It's fascinating. It has zero bearing on my life. I think there's a certain value to having certain data on, quote unquote, on the blockchain, and a certain value in a digital type of currency. Are we there yet? I don't think so. Will we be there? Absolutely. The biggest problem I might have with Bitcoin is that it's still mired in um, complexities. Like you have to be like a wizard in one way, shape, or form to figure it out, and I'm just not. I can figure out the basics around it, but man, I've tried and I've looked and I've seen it. I'm like, I'll wait. It got deflated recently. I can tell you that. I guess it just depends on when you want to buy into it. That's the bottom line. What kind of risk are you willing to take? And at what point are you going to get out? Or are you in it for the long haul? I don't know. It's completely up to you. Hey, thank you for the super chat, VT Productions PC. Really do appreciate that. Tipping my virtual hat to you. I'm not wearing a hat. I am wearing pants, though. This is Chris. I could do the I could do the Dr. Crane thing and say, I'm listening.
Hey, Chris, this is Robert.
Hey.
How's it going, man?
Going.
Good. Hey, so listen, so one of the viewers on here mentioned something about Bitcoin. So I've been a long time investor. I have an E-Trade account. I've been trading stocks for quite some time. So just wanted to speak a little bit around that. Not specifically in Bitcoin per se, but
go for
the stock market in general.
Yeah. Okay, go for it.
So I guess I'll give my advice, and then you can go ahead and give your 2 cents. I would say yes and no. I mean, it's tricky. I mean, stocks to begin with are very volatile. Right now, I mean, there's a lot of stocks that are down, so it's a great time to buy. Disney took a huge hit. Lots of hotels, casinos, airliner companies. I mean, they all took a huge hit because of this coronavirus thing that's going on, right?
Yeah, but how does that impact Bitcoin, or does it? Like, what impacts Bitcoin?
I don't invest in Bitcoin, so I can't really speak intelligently on that. I'm just, I guess, speaking in stocks in general.
So you know, I mean, general advice being buy low, sell high.
Right. And I mean, not only that, but you also gotta be careful. I mean, you gotta have the financial means as well. I mean, because I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the future, right? I mean, you might have a job right now. You know, you're working from home, but who knows how the company is going to turn out in the future? I mean, there's a lot of uncertainties right now. So the rule of thumb is that you should, I mean, if you're going to be investing, don't invest more than what you can't afford to lose, right? And you should have at least 6 months worth of money to pay your bills in case you lose your job.
Now that's true.
And you have at least
that's good advice. Whether it's
stay afloat,
yeah, whether it's for the stock market or hang on just a second. Yes, honey.
Can I open this?
We will soon. We'll build the Mandalorian set after the show. I promise. We'll build it after the show.
Daddy, can I have some candy?
Yeah, come over here and get some candy. So I think that the good advice there is have enough runway, have enough, it's like spare change, so to speak, right? Whether it's a stock market or Bitcoin.
Enough to stay afloat for a while because if you go crazy, I mean, there's a lot of great buys right now, right? But if you start investing 10, 20, like a lot of money, then you find yourself 8 months from now without a job, and all your money is tied up in these stocks that still haven't gone up. Then you might find yourself in trouble, right?
The stock market's always, I mean, unless you're, I guess, what do they call them, day traders? It's more long term, less short term.
There's day traders, there's short term traders, and then there's long term investing.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that's, to me, that advice you're giving is fair advice. I'm definitely not a financial advisor, far from it. It's just what I know, and it's reasonable. Even like I said, I think that advice translates into the question about Bitcoin too. Like, is now a good time to buy Bitcoin? And to my knowledge, at least last I looked, it kind of took a dive recently as the stock market did, which was kind of a shock, honestly. and I don't know if that market is going to bottom out because I couldn't tell you that much about that market specifically.
Yeah, I don't follow Bitcoin, so I don't even know what's going for right now.
It's lower than it was. I can say that. So anytime it's lower than what you wish you would have had it at, and if you feel that Bitcoin or any stock, right, is either undervalued or is going to return to a former value, and you've got money to spare, you've got the hamburger money, so to speak. I think if you want to play, and I think I think you've got to take a long-term vision with Bitcoin. I really do, because I would have said that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. You got to take a long-term approach to it. But everyone trades differently. Everyone buys these things differently. I wouldn't buy Bitcoin simply to say I have a Bitcoin, but that's me. I don't own stock on my own. I work for Intel, but I have no I have about as much understanding of it as you might, although I'm not I guess as active as you are.
Yeah. I mean, I recently invested, about 2 weeks ago, when the market was really impacted. I mean, like I said, I didn't go crazy because I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I have a job. I've always worked from home. Hopefully, I can continue to do so. I mean, but the company I work for, our stocks took a huge crash. So, I mean, just to be safe, I didn't go too crazy. I just bought, a few hundred shares in Disney and MGM. They all took a huge hit.
It's and I'm not a prognosticator, but then again, how many times have economists been proven wrong, right? So, I may not be well versed, but it seems that I have just as much of a shot of being right, seemingly. I'm not sure we've hit bottom yet. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. 2020 may see a low that we've yet to see. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think. That's just a gut. I mean, I've got
that, especially if we end up going into a recession,
or
depression, possibly late this year or sometime next year.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm.
There's going to be, obviously, a lot of aftermath from this huge
that's
crisis
the thing
going on.
It's the aftermath, and that's what concerns me most about what we're going through. We are in completely uncharted waters, and I see very little resolution in getting the data that we need, because without tests you have no data. Without data you have no clue. You can't begin to understand the problem. So
right.
It's once we are able, because we know what's coming down the pike. I think that's fair to say, and it's not good, but it is the aftermath that is it is the most concerning, because some small businesses, and I think Lexi, I think it was it Lexi yesterday who spoke to this. Some small businesses won't recover. It was someone yesterday mentioned it. Someone brought it up. Small businesses, they just can't pull out of this. And I, as a small business owner, really largely former small business owner, this is what the YouTube thing is, and Locker Gnome and all that stuff used to be. I'd be far more concerned now if I was still in that same position, because I wouldn't know which way the wind was going to blow. That's a big, that's a huge concern. Huge.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's rough times for small business owners and for a lot of other people as well.
Because everybody's impacted by this in one way, shape, or form, even if we don't realize it. Hence the quote unquote supply chain.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks for throwing your 2 cents in.
Yeah. Glad I could chime in on that. So.
Yeah, no, you kind of help flesh out the answer. It's great.
All right. Thanks for the call, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
All right. You too. Well, now I turn around and they're gone. Can you guys hear in this broadcast? Can you hear the background noise that I've got? The family, right? Jedi's pulling one direction, Diana's pulling another. What's happening? You're coming back? Great, because I'm still trying to figure out what kind of advice you want me to give.
Well, if it was up to me, we'd be talking about conspiracies.
We're not going to talk about conspiracies.
That sounds like a great topic.
This is where you end up when you have your own internet connection and you go to the weird corners of the internet. What conspiracies?
Well,
that's not advice. You can't give advice on conspiracies apart from stop it.
The reason I was thinking of conspiracies was because y'all were talking about Bitcoin. And the only thing I know about Bitcoin is that people use it to buy stuff that is either illegal or like in the dark web. That's all I know.
Well, it's not really conspiratorial. That's pretty much flat fact. that's take off the tinfoil hat there, Diana. That's pretty accurate. It can be used for more than that, but let's face it. Yeah, so that's not a good conspiracy, Diana. I thought you were going to come in here with aliens or something.
Well, no, about the 5G. What are your thoughts on the 5G?
Okay, dude. Okay, that is a conspiracy, dude.
See, that's a good
it is okay.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about 5G, Diana.
To soothe my anxiety.
Okay, you know who I need to call right now? I need to call Dez over
why?
at T-Mobile because he would lay down the facts about 5G.
But are they facts?
They are facts.
How do we know?
5G is not out to get you, right? They said the same thing about every wireless technology that's been invented.
But there's people that have measured the frequency of radiation, and where their router is, that's where the highest radiation is.
Really? So you're saying that electricity produces waves?
Yeah.
And especially electricity that is emitted and broadcast through walls emits waves?
You're kidding me. Yeah.
What?
Uh-huh.
So, wait, hang on. Science?
But isn't that bad? Radiation's not good for you.
You know what? I'm kind of hoping for it because I don't want to go in and get snipped. I just stand next to a router and get all sterile.
Oh, should we talk about that? How you're going to get snipped?
No, we already talked about it, Diana. You weren't tuned in. You weren't listening.
No, I missed it.
Speaking of not listening, where's Jedi?
She wanted me to do her hair.
Do her hair? It's like 5, 6 o'clock.
I know. She's asked me to do her hair right before bedtime.
Where does she got to go? She got a hot date on ABC Mouse?
Oh.
I can't give her advice for that apart from just don't.
Yeah, let's give some advice. The reason I thought of this...
You can't just invent advice so...
Well, it's because you've given me a lot of advice.
I know, I told him.
Yeah,
so I'm trying to prove you wrong. Here's how I'm proving you wrong, by the way, before you get into it. Ancient. I said, if you want my advice, call in. Do you see the queue right now?
No.
Do you see how many people don't want to call in right now? I told you. I told you.
No, but they don't know that you give great advice.
Yes, they do. What the hell do you think they're listening right now?
Because
they want to hear somebody else ask the question they're afraid to ask.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so let me ask it. What is a question everyone is afraid to ask?
That's not advice.
No, I'm talking to myself.
Okay, my advice is don't. Because you look like, you're talking to a voice in your head.
How do you look like you're talking to a voice?
Oh, when you're, making yourself up in the mirror and like talking to yourself, like having a legitimate conversation with yourself.
That's good to do.
According to which corner of the internet?
It's good to have conversations with yourself. Give us advice or give me advice.
Oh, this is going to be good. Notice she didn't say, I'm going to follow up with this advice. She just wants it, just to prove she can extricate it from me. All right, you think about it, because we've got a derelict who's in, this is this name.
Okay, I was going to say, what's a derelict?
Oh my God.
What is it?
Kind of like the person that we're talking about in general, a derelict, someone who is not exactly someone who's 2 fries short of a Happy Meal.
What's that medicine called? The anti-diarrhea? Duralax.
Oh man! Oh man! Oh my God! Derelict is not Duralax. Oh my God! Oh my God!
Should we talk about how I confuse words
Yes!
all the time?
Oh my God! You people, this is what it's like.
English is my second language.
Which is fair. You know more English than I know Spanish, that's for sure. Hang on, we're battling a Jedi here. Derelict, not Duralax. You're gonna have to change your handle now. Duralax World said, "Hey Chris, I'm now scared to leave the house. I mean, if I walk the dogs, could the virus stick to the dog's feet or maybe in my shoes?" And then we walked in the house, not a troll, genuinely scared. So before I address that question, let me go ahead and address the question of, do y'all think Chris smokes weed? First of all, it's legal here in the state of Washington. Yay! Second of all, no. I'm drinking a beer right now. Although you can mix the two, I just don't. So you're talking to someone who doesn't like leaving the house to begin with. I did not need another excuse to not leave the house, personally. But when you are faced with an onslaught of information and disinformation and misinformation, and it's everywhere you turn, it has the likelihood of transforming your life and playing upon your fears. So, if you walk the dogs, could the virus stick to the dog's feet? I don't know that much about it. Someone would have had to have coughed on the ground specifically, and the dog would have had to have picked it up, and then you would have had to inhale it in some way, shape, or form, or ingested it or touched it in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, the viruses can be transmitted. Period. It's just, that is a flat fact. So could it cling to your clothes? It's a possibility. I'm not going to sit here and say no. I mean, if you don't think that, viruses can't survive on packaging, there's been evidence to the contrary. It can happen. It's always happened. Your body, may be able to fight off, something that's minuscule or small enough, or, if your body's got a good immune system. I'm not saying that, the primary, let me put it this way. The primary mode of transference is not a dog. Dogs can't necessarily directly pass the virus along by sneezing or coughing on you. You might, in fact, I dare say you probably have a greater chance of getting something by inadvertently getting some of their fecal matter on you as you're cleaning up behind the dog, if you walk the dogs. So right now, they're on the cusp of suggesting that everyone wear a mask. It's not that it isn't practical, it's that the supply just doesn't exist. And my concern with that is that our first responders would not get the access to the equipment they need. So I ordered last night. I ordered 4 homemade masks on Etsy. They're like Star Wars print. 4 of them, so we can cycle through them. Or wait, 5 of them, I guess, so we can cycle through them. The washable, and then I'll insert behind that mask like a terry cloth or something else that's breathable, as to act as somewhat of also a washable filter. Don't be surprised if masks become more of a norm during this time. Doesn't mean you're sick. Of course, if you are sick, you shouldn't go out. If you are sick, you absolutely should wear a mask. If you can't get a hold of a mask, like I said, just hop over to Etsy, find a design you like, and buy it. You're supporting the small business owners that way. Unless you want to make your own, you can. People have. I'm all about wearing a Star Wars mask though. So, getting back to that information, I'm clearing my throat because it's congested. I have allergies, not anything else. I'm more than confident. I don't know how much news you watch. I don't know what you are doing on a regular basis to increase that fear. But minimizing what you do, or in terms of exposing yourself, of course, is warranted. And I'd go as far as to say, stop exposing yourself to social media and the news. And I'm not saying that the news exists simply to, sow fear, but I got to tell you, in the past week or two, I can't watch the news. And I like watching the news. I'll read Twitter. Twitter's my news source by and large. I can fact check easily. I follow people that I trust. Generally going to get, pretty straight shot. But there comes a point where too much information can actually damage you. They call it doom scrolling on Twitter, right? You just can't look away. It's like a train wreck. You just can't look away. That's a problem. So stop watching the news, and I don't mean that in a totally negative sense, or just cut down, because it's only going to play upon your fears or dance upon those fears such that you will continue to not do the things that you might normally do. I wouldn't say that you should be scared to leave the house, nor would I say that you shouldn't. I think you've got to be reasonable. If you need to leave the house to get groceries, to do something that is critical, yeah, leave the house. But every time you do, you will, by the nature of virus spreading, have a greater chance of picking it up. But that virus can also be transmitted in other ways. I'd be very wary about handling things that came from the outside without making sure they were clean. Sterilizing packages, I spray the packages that I get and open them outside with gloves. I spray them with like a Lysol, then I open them with gloves, and then take out what's inside that's typically been in there for 2 or 3 days. So any chance of the virus clinging on is slim to none. You got to be careful with food too. Wash it if you want, like with water. Don't use soap. That's actually more dangerous. It could hurt you. In terms of leaving the house, if you're scared, I'd address that more so than addressing the practicalities of you actually catching something. So the more you are immersed in something that causes fear, the more you will be fearful. It's 101. God, where's Diana for this? God, I have lectured her on this to a great extent. You can't be to this end. Hey, hang on, Diana. Dang it, dude. Okay, you got to hear this.
Okay.
How many times have I told you? Because I just said, how many times, you can call me a liar if I'm wrong. How many times have I told you that you can't let fear control you?
Yeah, a lot.
So you hear that? A lot.
Fear leads to hate.
No, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. But we're not going down that path. We're just starting with fear. Because the derelict world, now scared to leave the house because of everything that's going on. So I laid things out. Like, you have to think about your odds, right? If you live in a densely populated area, yeah, I'd probably, shelter in place. If you live in an area where, there aren't as many people milling around, not a lot of activity, you can probably go for a walk. Stay, I would say beyond 6 feet, which is based on old data, a good 30 feet apart from people. And if it's possible, wear a mask. If you don't have a mask, buy one on Etsy with a design you like. Insert like a terry cloth behind it or some kind of cloth behind it to increase the possibility that you would filter out anything, and then wash it. that is going to do you a heck of a lot of good, because the primary point of entry, from what I understand, and I am not an expert, but I listen to them, is this is a respiratory problem. So you have to inhale it like directly, right? It's like so if you can stop something, you put a barrier up. And I'm not saying rush out and get an N95. I'm not going to recommend that either, because right now our health professionals, I believe, need it. But you can come really close to getting to that point by getting a reasonable mask, like a homemade mask, inserting another filter. If you can't find a filter, like a cloth of some kind, and you have a greater chance of stopping it. Now, this is not me telling you as an expert. This is what I have learned. This is what I have needed to research for my own health and safety, because I do need to leave the house. And it's an absolute necessity to protect yourself. Another thing I might recommend is go out walking when nobody else is. I mean, I doubt the dog feet are going to pick up anything, or you're going to inhale the dog feet. If that's a concern, after you walk the dog, wash the feet off. I mean, it is that simple. It's another step, sure, but you should be washing your hands anyway on a regular basis. The one recommendation I have for anybody who's going out: go during low traffic hours. Now, a lot of my routine hasn't necessarily been interrupted. I've cut it back by half, but typically, I will often go early in the morning to make sure that we have our necessities for the day or the week. Go out, get manager special. So a lot of people aren't out in the morning; they're just not. And so if you venture out for your necessities, or even if you go out for a walk, go when nobody else is going. It's going to minimize by a greater degree the chance of you inadvertently inhaling something. So I can't speak into every angle of that fear, but hopefully any one of these suggestions, might have, landed where it needed to land. This isn't easy. And I think this is actually really good to say. Prepared, not panicked; alert, not anxious. It's easy to say that, and because I agree, but that's where I say turn away from a good amount of the news. Filter your news. I would strongly even recommend don't watch TV, specifically TV news. If you need to get your news, I recommend following trusted sources. Facebook is probably the worst possible news feed you could ever view, because when I say trusted sources, I don't mean your Aunt Betty, because more often than not, Facebook is the vector for a lot of falsehoods, and I'll leave it there. VT Productions PC sent a super chat. Cardboard boxes, metal, plastic have been advised here in Australia to carry virus for a certain amount of time, spray antibacterial, and use wipes on everything. I've got wipes in the car. Yeah, as do we. We're generally clean anyway, but when I pick up a package and I know it's come in from an outside, place, hence me picking up a package, I'll spray it, and sometimes I'll even keep it to the side for a good day or two. I think what they're recommending, like a 24-hour, 48-hour, even for groceries, they've been saying to do that. It's good advice. I mean, you don't know where something has been before it's come to you. That, I think, is a good point to be absolutely aware on, for sure.
I know you're not alone in feeling these feelings.
Oh, of course, leave it to you to talk about feelings. Okay, fine. That's fine. No, it's good. It's good. It's a compliment. It's a good thing. It's like,
because a lot of people, I think sometimes just feeling that you're not alone, because feeling alone in these feelings, especially if you live alone, I know it's tough, and we're all going through this, and hang in there, right? I always tell you, hang in there. I always do the little kitty cat.
No, you don't.
The kitty cat hanging on.
No, you don't. You get mad that I'm always complaining.
No, I say hang in there.
Oh, you're doing the cute cat thing. No, you don't. You don't say it that way. No, you don't.
I do all the time.
She doesn't do it all the time.
I say hang in there. Yeah, you're not alone. We're definitely not alone in those feelings. A lot of people are really struggling right now.
Well, yeah.
Mentally. It's hard.
Well, you were saying as we were playing one of the games with Jedi, you were saying that people who are single and they're not, interacting or with anybody.
That's true, because I was joking around how, we all want to kill each other because we're spending all this time together. But in reality, I'm really grateful that, we have each other, because there's some people that live alone and they have no one to talk to or interact with. And it's really hard. Even prisoners, it's, been proven that it makes their mental health worse being alone and isolated. So, yeah, if you're living alone and isolated, a lot of people have said try doing FaceTime, or I guess Zoom is a new thing where you can chat to a few people, or even going for a walk.
Well, that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
He said he's afraid that the dog's foot is going to pick something up. So I was like, let's think about the logic and the practicality, and this is a respiratory illness. You got, but if you get so far down into the weeds, it will make it such that you won't do anything. It's like a analysis paralysis. If you think about it too much, you'll get wrapped up in a fear and never actually do the thing that you're trying to do. Fear can be a great, agent of control.
Yeah, there's this other saying. It's like, if you're living in the future, you're living in fear. Or no.
Yeah.
And if you're living in the past, you're living in depression. If you're living in the present, then you're as happy as you can be. And what have you always said? Just worry about things you can control.
That's right.
And don't worry about things you can't control.
I have said that.
He said that to me many times, because I'm just like you, because I didn't even think about that. I'm like, oh, as soon as you said about the dog thing, I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. That's so true.
Oh, God. No, I'm not trying to create more problems.
No, but that's true. And then you have to bring yourself back. And that's where Chris comes in. And we're kind of like the yin and yang. He kind of brings me back. And for him, I kind of bring him to his feelings.
No, I don't. No, you don't. I don't come to my feelings ever. For me, it's either angry or okay. That's like the two feelings I have, right?
Yeah. Angry or okay.
Well, Jedi, if I'm not smiling, she said, "Why aren't you happy?" I'm fine. I'm like, you don't have to be happy. Yeah. I think there's this.
And you're not always yelling. Sometimes you're very emphatic.
Well, I am, but I'm like, I got no feeling. There's nothing going on apart from this is it. This is what it is. There's no feelings here. Yeah. And so, like, sometimes I think people get the idea that you have to be happy all the time. Like, you can't. Who the hell is happy all the time? Like, who is that? That to me is disturbed.
And everybody's different. You've told me that. You think a lot from a business point of view. Like, you'll say things, and I've had to learn this. You'll say things without any feelings attached to them. And that's hard for me, because everything has feelings.
No.
Everything has feelings. So
not everything.
I know. But I've had to learn, people are different. And just because I feel a way doesn't mean Chris feels a way the same way.
Right. And I think that's probably one of the bigger problems that we have in society right now. People don't think past the end of their nose. They think it's the way they feel is the way everybody feels, or the way they feel is the right way. And I think that causes more problems than anything, because it decreases the chances of you being able to understand or empathize with a situation that you don't understand or you can't understand. And it keeps so much fruitful conversation from actually happening. Like, you've seen so many stories where someone will say, well, I had no idea. Because you didn't stop to think about it. Like, if you thought about someone's motivations, why would this be? Why, well, I didn't know that story existed. And then as soon as you hear the story, suddenly you become more aware. Like, well, why didn't you think that story existed before then? Would you think that they were just doing this for giggles? Like, if people recognize that other people are different and they have different experiences, and that shapes who they are as individuals, we'd have a better world. But we don't, because now, especially today, where you've got algorithms that basically spin you into this bubble where all you see are the things that you are designed to see, because that's what these platforms have learned is the thing that's going to keep you on site. It's the thing that's going to keep you listening. It's the thing that's going to keep you engaged in the app so they can, prove another data point and increase their numbers. Has nothing to do with you. It's as much a drug as a drug. That's the algorithm. It's a drug. It's damaging, but in a completely different way. And it's done more to destroy any degree of discourse that anyone might have, because what happens is people get caught in bubbles. Everybody. I don't want to hear it like, oh, you're in a bubble. No. Everybody's in a bubble. If you're online, you're in a bubble. And the problem with that is if you can't see past that bubble, or if you don't recognize that other bubbles exist for good reason, we're just going to keep colliding into one another. And all we're going to have is a bunch of burst bubbles at the end of the day, instead of understanding that we're a part of a greater thing.
Yeah.
That's what I mean when I say you got to remember other people think differently. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's not a judgment. It's an is. That's the way it is. You can't change that. No one's going to think like you. No one's going to act like you. No one's going to do the same things the same way. And even then, even if it was the same person in the same or a different person in the same circumstances, they would do something radically different. Because of how they are, or who they are, or what they have, or what they know, or who they know. I mean, it's just, there's like unquantifiable variables at play.
And there's been studies where they'll show two people the same thing and they'll see two completely different
Well,
things.
yeah, that's the old adage, God, it was an old, it's a tale, but basically, like, I think is like 5 blind men they gather around an elephant, they put their hand on it, and one of them describes it as a very coarse wall, and another one describes it as a very a damp towel. Another one describes it as a cylinder. Another one, everyone's describing it differently. It's the same elephant, but they're describing it differently based upon what they can see, and they can't see. So they can't see it's an actual elephant. They can just experience by sense of touch, sense of smell, all these other senses that formulate in their head what it is.
And it's their truth.
It is. And that's why I have a problem with the word truth. I don't have a problem with the word fact. I have a problem with truth, because your truth is not mine.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily mine, because we don't share, we may not share the same mores. We may not share the same values. We may not share the same experiences. And that's where that gets dangerous, is when you don't have the wherewithal to understand that. I mean, in many ways, it's like the Dunning-Kruger effect. People who are so stupid, they don't know how stupid they are. No, I'm serious. It's a thing. I'm not making fun of stupid people. I'm saying the Dunning-Kruger effect is at play, because what happens is you have stupid people doing stupid things, thinking that they're doing the right thing, when in fact they're stupid, but they're so stupid they don't know how stupid they are. This is the thing. I'm like, paraphrasing, right? But it's the Dunning-Kruger effect. If you want to, this is your lesson for tonight. Dunning-Kruger. The Dunning-Kruger effect. It is absolutely real. Okay. Diana wants me to wrap it up.
No.
We got big. No. With big, we've got some little ears.
Oh,
toddled into the room.
I was talking about the S word.
Yeah, I know. We try to be very careful with the language we use around here. Yeah, Diana doesn't care when I drop an F-bomb, but as soon as I say STUPID, that's like, all bets are off.
It's too far.
Oh, by the way, we got a super chat from Derelict World. Thanks, guys. Be safe.
Oh, thank you. You too. I'll be thinking of you.
Oh, I know. Trust me, she will.
I know. I will.
It's not a thing.
Aww.
Yeah, it's an interesting time that we are in with social media, and you think that it'd be a time where we'd be able to better connect and interconnect with one another, but almost the opposite is true. We find ourselves, wrapped up in a bubble, and find ourselves in a bubble, and whether we know it or not, we're in it.
Are you saying a bubble like we're on social media?
Okay,
we're online?
Okay, yeah, not that necessarily. I mean, that might be one bubble where I think people who are online have a propensity for being more informed, but they also have there's also a possibility of them being ill-informed and just as dangerous, if not more so. So a bubble would be, you get on Twitter and you start following people on Twitter, and they like the new Star Wars movie, and everyone that you're following loves the new Star Wars movie. Oh, everyone loves it. And then you just somehow randomly go to another group or whatever and they hate it. And you're like, wait a minute. No, everyone loves Star Wars. Everyone loves the new Star Wars movie. And this other group is saying, no, they don't. Everyone hates the new Star Wars movie. No, they love it. No, they hate it. No, they love it. No, they hate it. Well, you're only a true Star Wars fan if you hate the movie. No, you're only a true Star Wars fan if you love the movie. No, you're only a true Star. And that's what happens. And you may be smiling because it's Star Wars, but you take that subject, you abstract it, and you can place anything there, and it's the same problem. What happens is we run the risk of narrowing our view based upon those that we believe in, because hey, their truth matches my truth. Okay, I like that. I'm going to follow them because they're going to reinforce my beliefs, and what they say I believe is true. So the more you follow and the more you swallow that kind of that type of flow, for the lack of a better phrase, you are inadvertently cutting yourself off from a greater discourse, because you're only subject to typically only subject to information that leads to confirmation bias, which is basically, see, they said it, it's true, it's right. Like, whoa, hang on, there's other truths out there. Just because you believe that's right, it's not it's not an objective statement, it's a subjective statement. You can't say that this is accurate unless, of course, it's based in fact. If there's a flat fact, this is what happened empirically, this is what happened, and even then, this is what happened. No, I think it happened this way. Well, wait a minute. No, I think we can find our way closer to a shared truth here, and this is where it gets to be a problem, because you've got one truth here and another truth there, and the facts get lost because you have bubbles here and bubbles there. I mean, have you heard the expression that is shared is, you're not, because you're not from the Midwest, you're not a real American.
Oh yeah.
Or you're a quote unquote coastal elite. What the hell does that mean? What the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
What that means is someone is thinking that you think that you're better than them because that's what they're told, because that's what they feel, because that is what they believe, because they feel less than for whatever reason,
right,
because you have more than they. What is that? It's not me sitting there saying, because of where I live and what I believe, I see anybody as less of a citizen than anybody else. It's just my experience is going to be different in this particular culture than that particular culture. And I understand this probably more than most because I've come from one place and moved to another place to have that perspective.
Is the underlying issue fear?
Oh, fear is a great motivator.
That's, yeah.
It's not just fear. It's going back to wrapping yourself up in truths that make you feel good about what you believe, or what everything that you've known, everything that you grew up with, all those habits, rituals, all the construct. And no, this is what Diana and I go around and around on this. Like, no, you shouldn't yell at someone when you're having a conversation. Like, no, but you're not passionate if you don't have any kind of force behind what it is you're trying to assert, because of how you grew up versus how I grew up. And I'm not saying one way is right and one way is wrong. It's just different. It's a different style of communicating. You don't have to look very far to look at any Italian video, and they're yelling and talking about bringing flamethrowers to anybody who throws a wedding right now in Italy.
And they're just having a casual conversation.
Yeah, it's just a casual conversation. Look, I will literally knock your head off your shoulders right now. Like, for real. So, it's that culture that is kind of like an underlying factor to the conversations and the experiences and relationships that are layered on top of it. So if all you did was just follow people who
Oh no, I see it all the time in the mommy groups about the cry it out method versus the hold them as soon as they cry.
Okay, so hang on. I will let you get back to this, but before, Mommy, where's Jedi?
She's watching Android.
Okay, great. Yeah, double check on that. Sorry, I wanted to say something, not to interrupt your train of thought, but I'm glad you have an example. But as I was pointing out, This is the example that could be played out over and over again, no matter the topic, no matter the person. And here's the thing: I'm just as much of a quote unquote victim of the algorithm, a quote unquote victim of confirmation bias, a quote unquote victim of living in a bubble as anybody else. So I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh no, I know how to see through it." No. If I knew how to see through it, it'd be a thing. What I try to do is, in a way that's not going to infuriate me, at least attempt to see somebody else's perspective, attempt to listen to what someone else is trying to say. And if I'm listening, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I can accept that as a truth. Star Wars being an example. Oh, it was horrible. Dude, I loved it. It was great. It was everything I wanted it to be. In fact, there was a video today, someone uploaded a cartoon. It was really nice, like an animation of the possible script for episode 9. And I watched it. I'm like, I was kind of interested. I'm like, well, would this be better? And I'm like, that would have sucked. I'm like, I'm so glad that did not play out. But there's a faction of the internet who has decided that no, that everything that happened with Star Wars is horrible. Let's go back to the good old days. Blah 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 blah. George Lucas. And I'm just like, look, it isn't that right now, and it's not going to be that. And I would rather enjoy something that has pock marks and pimples than not enjoy it at all. So either way, I'm saying we all live within bubbles. Mommy groups.
Yes. So the cry it out method,
which I'm a fan of.
Not sure.
I'm also a fan of go ahead.
No, so I see a lot of mommies wanting, I think, almost like assurance that they're doing the right thing, and they get really into it and really argue about who's right and who's wrong, which one is right and which one is wrong. And it basically, the mommies don't want to hear that they're wrong.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, no, they don't.
Well, I mean, whether it is to cry it out or pick them up as soon as they cry or soothe them.
Well, see, the way I look at it, and maybe this is Chris Pirillo, maybe this is a dad, maybe this is the Italian in me, but like, you're gonna screw up the kid no matter what you do.
I know.
Like, the kid's gonna get the kid. You're gonna do something or not do something that's gonna screw up the child. And 20 years from now, they're gonna come to you and say, "Why didn't you peel the orange for me, Mom?" And you're like, "What? Like, look at all the other things I did." It's not gonna matter. You're still gonna screw up the child.
But you should still strive.
Okay, I'm not saying don't strive, but you're gonna get so caught in the weeds that you're not gonna take action and be decisive.
But think about back to your first memory that really stuck with you when you were little. That
getting beaten.
No, like something.
Why does everyone laugh when I say that?
Something little, like was that
getting beaten. It was a little beating.
No, that was really, minuscule. But to you, it was huge. It was a huge deal. And I try to go back to my childhood and think, like, I don't know. I try to.
Well, you have to tell me because I don't know because I wasn't there.
I mean, I try to put myself in her shoes.
Well, don't do that. Your feet are too big.
Like, how should I say that?
No, you're trying to be in the moment and serve the child best the child can be served in the moment.
Yeah.
Without causing more harm than what might be necessary. Not that you would necessarily cause harm. You're trying to make the right decision for your child, right?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Diana.
It's
Only you know your child. Only you know your child. These other rando moms on the internet, they know their children. And you don't have to go very far into a store to see the other types of discipline methods that happen. And I keep telling you, we are far from one end of the spectrum.
But I've never been more sure of a thing than being a mother. Like, for some reason, I just...
So then what are you worried about other people think? What are you worried about what the right decision is?
No, I'm
okay,
not.
And I'm saying you are. No. But I'm saying,
I see that a lot. And I see a lot of mommies trying to get... what's the word I'm thinking of? Not confirmation, affirmation.
Affirmation, right? They're looking to be right.
Right, and nobody knows what they're doing.
Well, no.
None of us know what we're doing when it comes to being a parent.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, there's many books that have been written, but
So why do you go to get affirmation?
well, because you want to make sure you're doing the right thing. In your mind, you're wanting to do the right
And
thing.
it goes back to
But
the
it's
bubble and the
cyclical.
groups,
Right.
where why do you go to those groups to get affirmation?
Because you make a choice, and you feel that choice is right. I think you have, the problem is that the repercussions may not be known for years. So you might make a decision in the moment and it seems fine, but it could have consequences. And in the moment, it may seem fine, but that doesn't mean that it wouldn't have consequences. Like you're like, oh, if I do it this way, it'll be fine. If let's say, for argument's sake, I'm not saying this is what happens. When Jedi's crying, we give her tablet, right? Or she's crying because she wants her tablet, so we give her a tablet. Well, in the moment, hey, I just want some peace and quiet. But in the long run, what might happen is that could actually hurt her in ways that aren't, maybe they may not be physical, they may not be mental directly, but she will have certain behaviors reinforced. And so in trying to guide the child's behavior, there's no, in my humble opinion, I don't think there's one right way of doing it. Otherwise, there would be a definitive, this is the parenting manual. Yeah. And it would never evolve past that point. It's
so hard. I mean, even there's like the timeout versus don't do timeout. Timeout is bad.
I see. I
don't know. And we don't hit or spank.
No, I'm a big believer in that.
The thing that really stuck with me is, I know my dad's listening. Hi, Dad. But I asked him as an adult, I said, Dad, how come you never hit me? And he said, like as a child, and he said, because I knew if I did, you would remember. And I was like, wow, those words were just so deep for me, because it's true. It's true.
Right.
And I don't want that. I don't want that for Jedi. And I was, as soon as my dad said, I was scared of him. I was more scared to disappoint him than to get hit. Like, I didn't want to disappoint him.
Because you've never been hit.
No, I mean...
one usually leads to the other. I will say that.
But it's
that's what I'm saying. That's what you don't understand. You don't understand that.
No,
because when as much as you might see, because sometimes, it's a 5-year-old, Jedi doesn't quite know how to control herself yet, but she's come to the point where she's hit or she's thrown something, and that's where I draw the line. That's where I'm like, no. And I think Diana gets concerned when I do that. I'm like, because I'm drawing the line. Like, I'm not going to sit there and drive corporal punishment, because I agree. I don't think that's the way to resolve the problem. I don't think that improves the situation at all. I will not,
especially
hurt.
When they hit. You don't
yeah, I won't. Yeah, exactly.
Hitting.
So I'm a big believer. I refuse to do that.
Yeah.
I refuse to do that. Just from everything that I went through, absolutely refuse to carry that through. But that doesn't mean that I'm gonna go, oh, you hit me. Oh, you shouldn't do that. No, I'm gonna say no. And she's gonna know. And she knows as soon as she's done it that she's done something she shouldn't do. Which to me is that tells me she's got a healthy pattern of behavior. She knows she did something that she instantly regrets. And so we're able to take that moment and let it kind of like, okay, she knows she did something. And as long as she knows she did something, we can work towards a resolution. It's when she doesn't realize that she did something that has negative consequences. And she has.
Like last night, she wrote us sorry letters. Remember? She wrote us letters.
Oh, right.
Said she was sorry because she was frustrated and...
Yeah, trying to get us to do something that she wanted to do. And I'm like, no, dude.
So she threw her coloring books.
Yeah, Daddy is not. See, this is me talking about myself in the third person again. Daddy does not like when things get thrown.
But she didn't feel bad about her action and wrote us, letters.
Well, because we walked out of the room.
Right.
We went out of the room. But the funny thing is, we walked out of the room. Diana, I don't think you realize this. We walked out of the room. Jedi thought we were fighting because we walked out of the room. So I don't think she realized that it was what she had done is the reason we walked out of the room. I still think she thinks we walked out of the room because she thinks we were fighting.
No, but she wrote us sorry letters.
Yes, that's true. It was a horrible. I couldn't make heads. It was stickers.
And she even wrote one to Santa Claus. She's scared that Santa Claus isn't coming
But
because of the virus.
Okay.
And she's scared that the Easter Bunny isn't coming.
Well, the Easter Bunny will be fine.
She thinks Halloween is canceled.
Oh my God! What has she been watching? What are they showing on Peppa Pig these days?
Halloween is canceled.
No more. Hang on. So arguably says, as a psychiatry pre-med, psychologically speaking, positive reinforcement far more effective than any type of punishment.
I told you.
No, I don't disagree. Let me explain something. Jedi has never been punished, and I don't think you would agree with it. I disagree. Jedi has never been punished.
What do you
There
mean
are consequences. There are consequences to actions. If you throw something, that means you're not going to have it for the next indeterminate period of time. She's decided that it's not going to happen. Punishment would be, you yelled at mommy, go to your room. You yelled at mommy, this, that, and the other thing. I still think consequences, giving the child a choice. Look, I'm going to give you a choice. You can keep doing this, and this is what's going to happen. Like, you're going to do that, like the scooter thing. Okay, if you keep doing this, you're not going to have your scooter for 10 minutes. So she got a choice. And in her head, you can see it. She stopped doing it. Not because it was like, look, I know you want to keep doing this, but your behavior is not to. Are you looking at the psychologist?
No, Roberto.
Oh, what?
Oh, this must be a bedtime, Jenna.
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what it is. No, but punishment. I don't think you were ever. I mean, I don't know what you were, but I can just tell you, I've been through punishment. I've been through punishment and negative consequences. But if you give the child a choice between, you have a choice to modify your behavior on something, and we're not talking like you're, doing. She kept yelling, like shrill yelling, and like I'm like, look, okay, I let it go, and I'm like, look, if you keep yelling like that, you're going to lose access to the scooter you're playing with for like 10 minutes. And just by saying that, it was enough to reset her to realize, okay, I want to keep playing with my scooter. It's not. In my mind, that wasn't punishment. It was like, look, this is a consequence to your actions. Yeah. A punishment would be, go to your room.
But to me, I'm like, she's a kid. She's yelling. She can't go outside.
Understood. But she can still keep playing. I'm not saying stop playing. I'm not saying, hi.
Hi, baby.
When did you change? When did she change?
She had a little food stain.
Oh, okay.
But every night before she goes to sleep, we talk about.
I was just asking that. I didn't know if you were like stopped.
Oh, I'm not. We're not stopped. No, we're still podcasting. Yeah, we're still talking. Yeah, you can talk actually. What are your thoughts, Jedi? What are your thoughts on positive reinforcement versus negative reinforcement?
What is that?
Yeah, exactly. So let me ask you a question. Earlier tonight, remember you were on your scooter? Yeah. And you were like going, what was she yelling? You were like going, ah! You were yelling really loud.
Or was it the woo?
Woo! No, it wasn't that. No, don't.
I see.
That's no, yeah. That's loud.
But it's
I know. But I'm saying you kept doing it. It was really loud, and it wasn't really furthering anything. I said, if you want to keep playing with your scooter, you need to stop yelling, and you stopped yelling. Yeah. It was a good thing. No, it wasn't that. Great, Mom. Thanks.
Well, the reason, because we were going for a walk one day, and she's little, and she asked if animals. What was it? Something about animals out in the forest and the trees, if they drank coffee or something. And
what?
Or she's like, do they get up in the morning and drink coffee? The mommy and the daddy deer, something like that. And then she goes, I'm gonna wake them up. And she goes, woo woo, and was trying to wake up the deer out in the woods. So like,
well, you never did not have it.
Sorry, I forgot about it.
Well, I know you've got so many. The Vanellope doll from Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh.
They can't see it because it's audio.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can hear it because it's too far away, but that's fine.
No, but every night before she goes to sleep, she apologizes and is very specific about the things she apologizes.
That's what I'm saying.
She says,
that's
sorry
a good thing.
For yelling, or I'm sorry for throwing, and we talk about it.
But that's a good thing.
I know. But
that's what I'm saying.
She doesn't get punished, but she
doesn't.
Feels bad.
Okay,
about the things
but Diana, but you understand, she feels bad. I'm not saying that's punishment enough. I'm saying that's what needs to happen, because she didn't feel remorse for doing things that obviously caused other people discomfort in some way, shape, or form, or were problematic. Because she very often puts herself in danger every 5 seconds, and I'm like, please don't teeter on that, because you could hurt yourself. the fact that she's recapping that with you shows me she's got healthy emotional development. I'm not a psychiatrist or whatever, but like, which I always screw up which one is the which. One of them prescribes drugs, the other one doesn't. But I can tell you that the fact that she does feel remorse and can pinpoint sorry for doing this, that, and the other thing is telling me that she is developing emotionally enough to know that in those moments she may not have control, but she will eventually find her way back to that. Because otherwise she's just going to be sorry for the things that she's continuing to do. But she's 5 years old. Right. So the fact that she is apologizing for any one of those things, however she gets there, whenever she gets there, shows to me that she's got enough emotional growth that she can connect the dots. Even if she wasn't called out on it, she can connect the dots if that was something that I probably shouldn't have done. Yeah. And the fact that she can vocalize that.
And I try, when she tells me something, like say she got something that she wasn't supposed to, I never get upset at her because I'll say, thank you for telling me, because I always want her to come to me and tell me. And I always say, you can tell mommy anything, you know that, because I want her to feel like she can come to me and tell me anything.
Daddy's always going to tell the truth.
But you know what I mean?
I know.
Like, it's so hard. It's so hard. It's like we're walking a tightrope every day, you know?
Welcome to being a parent.
I know.
I'm like, no, like this is not something, and she knows that what she shouldn't have for the reasons that have been outlined before. It could either hurt her, or it could leak, or it's just not a toy.
I know, but I'll say, but thank you for telling me that you had that.
Well, sometimes Daddy doesn't find out until it's too late. And when Daddy finds out when it's too late, that's what Daddy doesn't appreciate. Tell me the truth up front, like, Daddy, I'm taking this, or Daddy, can I take this? You know, and then I'll say, well, ask Mommy. There's a greater chance of saying me punting it to you than finding out afterwards, like, this isn't here. Where was it? Like, and then I get, like, well, hang on, we got to put the stuff back so the next time someone's trying to look for it, they can find it. That's respectful. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Only when I find something that, like, hang on, was this something that you asked for, or is this something that you just, because she's absconded with items from my play shop before.
Right. That's
and
she's scared to come and
like. But what she's scared of is hearing the word no, and like I she has to learn to accept the word no. Can I have this? No, like, no, you can't. Or Daddy, can I have candy? Okay, let's wait until 5 p.m. tonight. So let me give you an expectation, because I'm not going to give you candy first thing in the morning, right? She came in here in the beginning of the podcast. Can I have candy? Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Come on over, because I know you've eaten well and you've had everything. You're fine. So it's if she came in here as she's done before when we're not watching, and she's got like chocolate smeared all over her lips, I'm like, dude, you knew you should have asked. Like, because she doesn't want to hear no.
But it's not. It's fine that she doesn't.
She doesn't get punished for having the chocolate. I'm like, dude,
it's fine that someone says no, but I want to make sure we tell her why. But a no, and then
sometimes
why.
Sometimes she knows why. Sometimes she knows why. I think I'm not. Maybe I'm giving more credit than she deserves, but I think sometimes she knows why. She knows that she shouldn't have too much chocolate. She's like, she has to have, quote unquote, real food, or it can make you sick it can give you a stomach ache if you eat too much chocolate.
Stomach and tummy.
A stomach ache is the word that we're using here. A positive punishment, the introduction of an undesirable stimulus, can be pretty useful in the short term, while negative punishment, removal of desirable stimulus, is actually less traumatic long term. There we go. Negative punishment, removal of desirable stimulus, actually less traumatic long term. Yeah. So, yeah, every kid's different, every parent's different. Yeah. Everybody, you just got to play it. You got to play it by ear. The thing is you can't come to me even with any approach and say this is empirical. This is the way it is. Right. I'll agree with you on a great many things, but in many ways I have no choice but to follow a lead. But in those mommy groups, when you've got one faction pitted against another, they have their beliefs, and that's fine. It's your kid. Right. Like, you don't. I mean, I'm not the kind of person that would necessarily, at this point, say how should we handle this, right? Because I think as well as can be handled, and no one has all the information. You can't fill them in on every. What are you giving me that sly smile for?
Me?
Why are you smirking?
No, because I was just because I was thinking the mommy girls are like, let's segue into vaccines.
No, we're done.
No.
Hang on, we're done.
Wait.
Okay, we got a call.
Oh, we do. And then from vaccines, my head went to let's talk about being chipped. So that's our next segue after this.
Chipped? I wouldn't mind being chipped.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna answer a call. At this point, hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
What's up?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Is this Chris?
This is Chris.
Hi.
Holy cow, Chris. What's up, man?
That's Diana.
It's Chris.
Hi, Diana.
Hi.
Chris.
Where are you calling
Hi.
from?
I'm calling from Orlando, Florida.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. All the way across the country.
Yes. I need your help desperately, brother.
Oh, okay. Chris is here.
I'm like on my knees.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Yes, like desperately.
Okay.
I'm having fun with Facebook identity confirmation.
What?
So I first heard about you like 6 years ago. Then I had kids and a job and I kind of went away, and then you appeared just at the right time. So I had this Facebook account, business account, right? And basically I went away from it, but it's still there. And I try to get back into it now, and I cannot
Oh.
for the life of me. And the reason being is because it's wanting me to go through this 2-step process that I have to confirm my identity. Have you heard of this yet?
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Facebook constantly changes their methods. Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me. Are you having an issue stepping through it?
Yes, and I don't mind so much them doing what they're doing. I get it, but trying to get a tech support on the phone from Facebook is like trying to find a jug of water in the desert.
Yeah,
So
no,
like,
I know.
Yeah.
I have run into a similar issue. Like, you're not alone. Like, finding a human being who works at Facebook is impossible.
Yeah, like they live in Mars or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I don't know. I really wish maybe for some content in the future, you would do a little research on this. Basically, let me try to log on right now real quick. Hey, how old is your kid now, man?
5 and a half.
Well, it's been that long, because when I got away, you were just having the baby, not you, your wife. So I'm sure she's gorgeous and awesome, and just like you guys. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, no, I wish I had a more specific answer for you, apart from, yeah, that is a miasma of complexities, like wrapped inside enigmas, sitting in the middle of a labyrinth, getting any kind of resolution with Facebook, unfortunately. That's not something I've had to wrestle with my problems with Facebook, certainly, but not that specific problem.
Yeah, and I really don't know why that is.
It's a business thing?
I saw Mark Zuckerberg today. Say again?
It's a business page?
Correct. And I'm trying to log on right now so I can tell you exactly what it tells me. It's the weirdest thing. And it's not that long. It's like, boom, here's the wall. Good luck. Here, I'll tell you real quick.
Well, if it's giving you hurdles, I mean, you kind of have to jump through. I've had to jump through plenty of hurdles too, different reasons. But like, if it's giving you, a direction to go, as impossible as it may seem, is probably the only direction.
And I would be fine with that. But wait until you hear this. It's really, really it's a minutia of the grandest proportions. Hold on a second. I'll tell you. I swear. I'll tell you. It'll only take me 2 minutes. You can start counting it down. Because really, that's it's just like you run into this wall and that's it. I'm logging in right now. Okay. Holy cow! I was able to log in. No way. Are you freaking serious?
No.
He fixed it.
No.
Good. No,
I'm
I'm
just kidding.
yeah.
Dude, what the heck?
I don't know. It's Facebook.
Oh my, what?
It's Facebook.
Holy, what is this nonsense? What? Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me right now?
It's Facebook.
Anyways, hey, look, thanks for the help, man.
No problem. No problem at all.
What kind of business
But
is it,
anyways,
did he say?
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I used to have a website as well, and you're the one that spurred me to do this. I have a financial background. I was an equities trader for many years, about 18 years, and then I did a bond trading. I worked for an actual desk on Wall Street and had enough fun with that. It was a season in my life, and then I was like, you know what, it's time to move on. I had kids, so you know what kind of, new adventures that can bring. And I totally devoted myself to my kids, and I just couldn't do both, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
So I went a different way, and then now with everything that's going on today, the people that know what I did for a living back then, you can only imagine. I fielded like 100 phone calls, probably in the last, and I kid you not, probably in the last 2 weeks, about where markets are, where they're going, what do I think, blah, blah, blah. And, I told myself, God was, I'm a man of faith, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what, dude, it's just the timing was not right then, but I really think you should get back into this thing. And I've published a few videos. I still have my YouTube channel under the same name. The website I let go, but I still have the YouTube channel, and I started publishing on YouTube again. And I really want to spur that a little bit by doing some kind of Google advertising. I mean, not Google, Facebook advertising, just because it's the easiest thing to do, and just start getting more viewership. But hopefully, what I'll do in the future here is get that website going again in the very near future, and start doing some articles for Facebook and get some revenue stream that way.
Smart.
I mean, I still have a full-time occupation. Thank you. But, this stuff never leaves you. When you're in markets for so long, it never leaves you, and you think about it all the time. I mean, I'll stay up till like 12 midnight, just like you, I'm sure, doing what you love to do. When you have a passion, you never really work another day in your life. You just do what you do. So, it's sitting here, and I'm going, man, these people really need to hear what you're saying. And my thing is more of a technical approach. I kind of cut out all the noise that's out there, and I pay attention to price. Everything's inclusive of the price of things, whether it's stocks, a business, what are you worth? Where are you going? What is your growth rate? And I kind of take that approach. So I'm showing people how to, because there's a lot of noise out there right now, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I try to show them how to tone that noise down and pay attention to what's really important and what's really going on under the hood. I like to use that expression a lot. You're doing this investing thing, and the help that you're getting out there is, a little latent. It's a little bit late. There's no reason why you should be calling me when the market's already down 30, 40%. It's a little late then, like for instance, I've been out of this market. I've been in cash since late February, before this thing started. The signs were there. I'm not saying that I'm a future teller or somebody doing predictions, but there were certain signs and graphs and things that I look at that this correction that we're in right now, it had to happen because everything was so extended. But however, it just went into overdrive when this phenomenon that we're dealing with right now, when it kicked in, it just took it to another level.
Do you think we're bottomed out, or do you think we'll go lower?
That's a good question. That's a magic question. I get it like, I don't know, 9 out of 10 times. But, and the answer to that is when I look at markets, you can basically look at markets two ways when you're doing analysis. You can either do fundamental analysis or you can do technical analysis. Those are the two ways. Both pretty important. Fundamentals looks at the balance sheet of the company, return on equity, return on income, cash flow, debt to ratio, all of those things. But to get that data, you look into the past. Okay, you're looking at what you have done. So the forward-looking mechanism is technical analysis, charting stocks, charting markets, and such. So what happens is it is just as important, if not more important, because it's forward-looking. So what's happening in the markets right now will come to fruition usually about 4 to 6 months after you see it in the price. And the price meaning technical analysis, looking at the actual price, the graph of a price in time, whether it's a daily chart, a weekly chart, however you want to do it. I use all of them. But, the price is the most important thing, because remember, everything is included of the price. The stock market is like a beauty contest. Okay, everything is included in that price. The drunk CEO that just got pulled over, the bad strategy for marketing, the bad strategy for this, the good strategy for that. And all of those things, all of that noise is all inclusive in that price of stock. So back to your question, have we seen a bottom yet? When I'm looking at the price of the market, and I use the S&P 500, it's probably the most comprehensive index you can use. The NASDAQ is overweight in growth and technology. The Dow is only it's 20-something stocks. I think it's still 20-something, but the most comprehensive look at the overall market is the S&P, because it's diverse in size, it's diverse in industry and such. So what happens is I look at that first. Like if you can and you say, look at, well, anyways, I'm going way out of your question. So this happens when you're passionate about things. But anyways, but you have to understand that you really have to understand what I call the overall market health, the health of the market, because most people, you won't hear this from most people unless you had training, professional training. 3 out of 4 stocks will go in the general direction of the market. So 75% of the stocks that you see out there will go in the general direction of the market. Not because I said so, because that's what it's done for the last 200 years. That's what happens. And you rely a lot on cycles. You rely a lot on history when you study technical analysis. So what I'm looking at right now is the market. I'm only in cash right now still. I've been in cash again since late February. And there's certain things that have to happen now that I'm trained to look at that have not happened yet. It's starting to. But these wild gyrations that you see are very normal after a correction this size. You have what I call wedges. When you look at the chart, it just looks like a big wedge. You have 600 points down, 600, 800 points up, 900 points. What you're seeing right now is totally normal. So eventually what will happen, to answer your question, the market will start tightening. What I mean by tightening, the ranges, the day-to-day ranges will start to tighten, and that's called consolidation. And once it starts to consolidate, then the market will find a footing where it will build either a new leg up or a new leg down. Hopefully, in our case, a new leg up. I think it will be a new leg up because where this correction is. So to answer your question right now, the market for me is a hold. So if you rode this thing all the way down, like probably 80% of people, you didn't do anything wrong. But the phone calls that I'm getting right now is, hey, Marvin, I got to sell all of this right now. I can't deal with it. And, that has a lot to do with psychology. There's a lot of psychology involved in investing and trading, because after all, what makes us buy and sell? Greed and fear, correct?
Right.
And they're emotional decisions. So we also have to understand that, that's so important. But, what happens is right now, the market for me is what I would call a hold. If things happen outside of this, then we just got to get more cards out of the deck to make a more informed decision of, where we go from here. And we just haven't gotten that data yet. We're starting to, but the last thing we want to do here is jump the gun. And because, like I said, it'll consolidate and then you'll get a new leg up or a new leg down. And what you saw in 2000, the 2 most recent corrections you saw in 2000, 2003, the technology bubble, I'm sure you remember it well.
I remember.
And then you saw the most recent 2008 real estate bubble. What you saw This is the kind of help that you got out there, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing now. The market, we're trained to look at the markets one way. Generally speaking, 8 out of 10 people will look at it this way because they don't know any better. It's not because they're stupid, they're just uninformed. So they'll look at it and say, buy low, sell high. You ever hear that before?
Yeah, no, I mentioned it. Yes.
So now, that strategy can work. I'm not downplaying it. However, when the market is in a correction, as it is in today, borderline bear market, okay? We're not there. We're not in a bear market yet. And the only reason why I say that now, where we're at, is because the market has found a new bottom. Now, with that said, I'm not going in there 2 hands buying everything that I see, because I haven't seen enough confirmation. If I take you back to 2000 and 2008, and you did the beginning of the 2000, it really started happening in 1999, late 1999. And most people blame the technology bubble on 9/11. And really 9/11 was the coronavirus of that correction, because the correction has started well before that. You started to see things sell off that had no earnings. It was inflated. If you had the name .com attached to your name, you could basically put the Wall Street Journal on a wall, throw a dart at it, and whatever it landed in, you could buy it. And I remember those days. It was crazy. It was irrational, and, I think the Fed chairman back then was Alan Greenspan, and he called it, he had these goofy terms that he called things, but he called it irrational exuberance. And it's like when you pour a glass of beer, right, a draft beer, most of the body, and then you have some head on the top. Well, that market had a lot of head because none of these companies, some of them had no earnings whatsoever.
Right. Some of them still don't. Right.
And some of them had negative earnings. I mean, you could open up a lemonade stand on the street corner. You would have made more money than these companies, but it didn't matter, Chris, because why didn't it matter? Because what I just explained to you about understanding overall market direction, overall market health. Why is it important? Because 3 out of 4 stocks will move in the general direction of the market. So it was evident then, right? Technology, anything technology with the name .com, it didn't matter what it was going to go up because the market was in a raging bull, okay? So the same thing happens on the downside. When you have a bear market, when you're in correction, it's like flying a plane with a headwind. So you're already starting off with a bad leg because you have to battle that monster. You have to battle that sentiment, that overall market sentiment. So, people come to me, it's like, Marvin, I got this stock. Man, this is the new maker of this and that and that. And I say, great. However, let's look at this, because this is important. Because I don't care what stock you have. It doesn't really matter. The vehicle, it's almost a moot point. Almost, not completely, but it's almost a moot point because everything, and if I have to prove my point to you, go on any stock charting, go on Yahoo Finance, wherever you want to go, and pull up a list of stocks today, any number you want, and I guarantee you 30 to 80% of them are down today. So because I just know, like I can tell, before this thing started, I would tell people, hey, you're going to get a nice statement come this January. What do you mean? Just trust me, you are, because the markets are up handsomely for the last 14 months. And they would be like, are you kidding me? It's like, no, dude, trust me, you're going to get a nice statement. You're going to like it. And what happened? There it was, because I didn't need to know what they were holding. It was irrelevant because we were in a bull market. Does that make any sense?
It does, or it's starting to a little bit more. Hell of a lot better than my intuition.
Well, it's like when I listen to you, man, I'm so glad I ran into you guys again. It's like fate, I think.
That's
I'm like,
funny.
let me call this fool, man. See if he can get me through this. I can't believe it, dude. I'm sitting with you right now. I'm like, yeah, inbox, message, jobs, notifications, insights. I'm like, what
I'm glad you're back in.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
It's like, blah. But anyways, to answer your question, the market is a hold. If you roll this thing down at the bottom, right now it's a hold. And right now, and this thing is day to day. I stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning. I scan the market. I scan probably about, I kid you not, probably about 300 stocks a day. But not so much right now. Why? Because I'm paying attention to the market. Stocks are not quite as important. You know, I like to have probability. I like to have the tailwind. I don't like to have a headwind when I invest in anything. So, you know, going back to 2000, people got killed, man. Some of them literally, because this is the help that you got. You called your financial advisor. Here comes March of 2000. And you go, hey, man, what's going on? And you got to remember, before 2000, the things that we were seeing, it was like, and I got licensed. I got into the business right on 2001, right at the start of the bear market. It was lovely. But anyways, you know, the things that we were, I was a bartender before that. And I worked in a major resort here in Disney. And it was a conference resort, and the conferences that we would have, Lucent, Juniper Network, Sienna Network, Cisco, these companies would come down and spend like a bunch of 22-year-olds with Armani suits. You wake up in the morning, I come into the bar and I open up the bar. I work at the pool bar, and there would be like Armani shoes and suits like on top of the pool.
Wow.
Like, what in the hell?
That's crazy.
So, I mean, the money was crazy. It was nuts. It was nuts. But back then I didn't understand it. I wasn't in the business yet. But I remember guys coming over. It's like, yeah, man, I just made 15 grand and lose it in like 60 seconds. And these are the kind of things that were going on. And here's $100, Marv. I'm like, okay, good enough. But anyways, I mean, so the thing I'm trying to say is before that market top, we had come from something so overwhelmingly good. People were making money like crazy. So when that correction hit, this is the phone call. This is what happened. You would call your financial advisor, stockbroker, financial consultant, all the same thing. You would call them up and you would say, hey, Bobby, what's going on with the market, man? I'm down 15%. You know, are we going to be okay here? Yeah, dude, are you kidding me? Have you seen what's been happening here in the last year and a half? I mean, hello. I mean, where have you been? I said, oh, no. But as a matter of fact, not only do I think it's going to come back up, I think you should buy some more. So now that happened probably about 3 or 4 times during that bear market. And people not only stayed in equity, stayed in stocks, when they should have really been in cash the whole time, which I was. I totally missed the tech bubble, and I totally missed the real estate bubble. And I know people hate to hear that, but I have to share that because I want to show them how to do the same thing. And it's not that complex. It's just looking at things a different way and turning off the noise. But anyways, people just got killed. They got killed in the markets during that time. Same thing happened in 2008.
Yeah.
And 2008 was worse because 2008 was worse because 2008, you saw a building, you saw concrete, and you're going, oh man, there's no way. How did you ever hear this before? There's no way housing's going to go down. Are you kidding me? It always come back up because you saw this thing that's physical, and you're thinking to myself, this is not going anywhere. I mean, there were people serving at Chili's that owned 3 condos, Chris.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
So, well, yeah, and that's just one story. I mean, the things that I ran into, I mean, and at that time, I was out of what they call back office, the actual trader, and I was actually a financial advisor. I said, let me try it because I moved, I had a child, and I was like, I went to a small town, and I'm like, they didn't have a desk, and I'm like, you know what, let me give this thing a shot. Well, I lasted in that all of less than a year, and I couldn't sell something I didn't believe in. And, it's no fault of their own. It's no fault of the financial advisor or the financial consultant. They don't know any better. It's a system issue, system problem. Excuse me. Hold on a second.
No, I'm following. Yeah, no, I'm following the bounce.
So what happens is, are you bored yet? Because this is really exciting, isn't it? But anyways, what happens is, but there's a lesson here, and I hope to give it to you before we hang up, and I probably only need about 5 minutes. But the lesson is that the help that you get on the street, okay, the help that we get out there, the average American, is exactly that help, and it never fails. You call a financial advisor. Hey, I want to sit down with you. I want to go over my financial situation. I want to get the first thing they pull out of the desk is something called the risk tolerance questionnaire. Well, let's find out what kind of risk you are willing to take. Let's look at your financials, what age you are, when you want to retire, all this stuff, right? It's important. And then they come out with a model. And the model says you should be, 25% cash and 75% stock. Like, okay, you're 28, whatever, 30. And you say, okay, you put your best foot forward. He allocates your money, off to the races. Set it, forget it, right? Well, then you run into a situation like 2000 or 2008. You get your first quarterly statement. Now, here's where the fun starts. You get your first quarterly statement, and you're like, holy crap, my 80,000 is down to freaking 65. I've lost $15,000 in 3 months. And this is just a start. You call up the financial advisor because you're in a little bit of a panic. After all, it is an emotional business. And the same financial advisor says, well, I understand the markets are down, but where we've come from. It's going to be okay. If you really feel like you need to talk to me, I can make an appointment. So you go in, you talk to the guy. What does he do? He or she? They sit down with you and they do another risk tolerance questionnaire. And you're like, it sounds like to me that you're more conservative. And I'm thinking to myself, no kidding, Sherlock, I just lost 20 G's.
Great.
So anyway, what do you think the answer was going to be, right? So let's reallocate you. So they reallocate you to sell you out at the bottom. And they put, 50% cash and 50% equities, reduce your equity position, and you think the guy did you a favor. Then another 3 months go by. Now you're down another 20 grand. You pick up the phone, you call again because the same emotion has taken over, fear. You call them up, and it's the same nonsense. It is the same nonsense. It's not that financial advisors are bad people. It's not that, they have ill intent. But the business itself, do you know the ad that I answered in the local paper when I moved to this small town? I answered an ad. And the ad was, you thought the guys were advertising a garage sale. It was one of those teeny little ads, right? And it was a very conservative firm out of St. Louis. But at that juncture, it was about 118 years old. Very conservative, very well known. And I'm like, this is what he said, and this should tell you a lot right here. What I'm about to tell you, this is what he said. New York Stock Exchange firm looking for. It didn't say looking for analysts. It didn't say looking for former equities trader. It didn't say looking for financial wizard. It didn't. None of that. It said looking for drum roll salespeople. See, the business is a sales business. If you come to me, Chris, today and you say, Marvin, I got $10 million I want you to help me with. Well, first thing I'm going to do is start jumping up and down. And I'm like, great. Coming in, I'll talk to you. You come into my office, we talk, we go back and forth. And at the end of the meeting, you say, you know what, Marvin? I hear what you're saying. I just don't think I'm ready yet. I don't want to buy anything right now. Let's just park that $10 million right there in that account. Chris, do you know how much money I've just made?
Crazy.
Zero.
I mean, crazy
Zero.
amounts. Yeah. What's
So
Zero?
I cannot make money until I allocate you, until I buy something with that money, whether it's an annuity, a mutual fund, a bond, a stock. I don't make any money. So there's an issue there. Don't you see it? I mean, if you're not allocated in something, and right now, the only thing right now, where we're at right now, if it was up to me, there's only one allocation that makes sense, and that's cash. So I wrestled with that, and I failed that financial advisory miserably because I just didn't. I couldn't do it. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, and so there's that. Does that make any sense? This is what happened.
Yeah, well, at a high level,
well,
this is one of the reasons why I haven't even bothered with the lot of it. Like, because there's just too much I don't understand.
Yeah, understandably so. Yeah, that's natural. And, but you can't learn it. You're doing so well anyways, as it is. You got to do what you love. That's number one. But there is something to be said about investing in markets. It is still, by far, the number one way to create wealth, even with all the shenanigans that go on, when done the proper way. Now, only second to one. The most transfer of wealth in the nation, probably in the world, that there's ever been is life insurance. But you have to die to get that, and you don't even get it. Somebody else does. But I mean, because life insurance proceeds are tax-free, and it's like you're paying $25, $30 a month. If something happens to you, your spouse or whoever else you leave behind, they get $250,000. I mean, it's the largest transfer of wealth. But the second one is investing in markets. However, you have to do it, and you have to be proactive with it. You just can't sit there and trust somebody to do it for you. Whose money is it, Chris?
Yeah, I believe
Whose
it.
money is it?
I believe it. I believe
it's
it.
your hard-earned money.
I believe it.
And that might be acquiring people that can help you along the way, but the ultimate decision is always going to be yours to buy or sell. There is a law, there's a regulation. If you have my money and you have it invested, and I call you and I say, Chris, I want out of the market now, you have to, by law, sell everything in that account. I don't care how you feel as a professional. I don't care if you think I'm crazy. You have to sell it. Why? Because it's your money. You see what I'm saying? It's called unsolicited order.
No, I watch it from a distance, and at some point it may become a hobby.
I can't leave you one unless I share this with you. And I hate to be this way, but I can't promote my website here, can I? I can't.
Yeah, sure. That. Go for it.
I tell you what. I'll message it to you so you can check it out privately. Sure. How does that sound?
Sure. I mean, you lay down some good information. That's good.
And and this way you can look at it, and it's something that it will start growing in you. The way I call it, the way it'll start growing in you, and you start to understand it. The way I explain it, I think I'm a good teacher. So they tell me. So you'll start seeing things. You will start seeing it. I promise you, you will. But you just have to have somebody to kind of embody everything in small chunks, and then you'll start seeing things exactly the way I'm explaining it to you. And you'll start understanding why people get on CNBC. A person can get on CNBC and start talking. They have these guys they interview all the time.
Yeah, talking guys, heads.
Wizards, Right.
Yeah. No, and I know.
Before he or she answers, I can tell you exactly what they're going to say, because they have a vested interest.
Right. No, I know.
Whether they're fixed income managers or equity managers. An equity manager, stock manager is never going to tell you it's time to be in cash. They're going to tell you that. So it's just not what they do. They just got to find something else to allocate the money to. Oof. Well, try to find something else to allocate money to in this market. There's nothing. There might be small pockets, but you have to be really good. The system that I teach, you could be 50% efficient and still make money. I mean, how does that sound?
Smart. That sounds smart.
But I don't know if it's smart. It's more about being informed. Albert Einstein was smart. I mean, this is just some stuff that was taught to me, and I'm just passing it on to the next guy. But I do believe in it wholeheartedly. I mean,
yeah, I'll take a look.
Man, it's good talking to you, man.
For sure.
I can't believe I'm talking to you, man. You're like a star, man.
No. Not at all.
And evidently, you're some kind of black magic guru. I mean, I can't believe I'm looking at this. I can't believe I'm looking at the screen right now. Holy gravy. What just happened?
I didn't do it.
I don't want to light a candle. I'm going to go and play the lotto, bro. I mean.
Well, thanks for calling in.
Listen, man. I appreciate you taking my call, man.
Sure. Thank you.
Good luck with that baby, man. How's that coming along?
Oh, it's coming. She's 5. On her way.
Oh boy. Well, that's awesome, man. That is so great. Hey, listen, I'm gonna leave you one word of advice because I'm also a parent. I'm a lot older than you. Here's a little word of advice with the kids. All right, they have what it takes. When you want to jump in and get in the way, stop and slow down a little bit. All right, just because she falls down from the full step and bumps her head, she's not gonna die. But I guarantee you, she's not gonna do it again.
Yeah.
It's a harsh thing to say, but you really got to let these kids fall on their face every now and then.
Yeah, I tend to do that.
Metaphorically speaking.
I tend to do that.
You see there? Oh, man, you're gonna be in trouble. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is we're too quick as young parents, and I was guilty of this, of always being there on a safety net. And I guarantee you, as your kids grow older, you know, kids build self-esteem in the first 7 years of life. There's been many studies made of this. And like 7 to 9 years old, they already have their self-esteem built. And we think we're doing good for them, and we're really not. We're really harming them because we don't let them fall flat on their face and be like, well, you talk them through it. You say, here's why I think this is not a good idea. Turn the car and come in traffic. But you know, I mean, so you gotta let them figure it out, and they will. They have what it takes.
Yeah, I don't think self-esteem. Self-esteem is not the problem. There's an attitude that she can do anything. That's the. I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, okay.
Yeah, it sounds like any other kid.
Exactly.
Really,
I believe it.
It's like, you know, because if not, you can see yourself like my nephew, that, you know, to college, first year of college, and I've been around. I'm guilty of this. I've babied that kid like he's my own son. To college, mother says, "I'm going with him." Like, for what? I'm like, for what? He's like, "Well, I'm going to help him register." I'm like, really? He's a grown young man. Just find the longest damn line out there. I guarantee you that's a registration line, and stand there. I mean, so, you know, it's a thing that will build up. Let them figure it out, Chris. Let her figure it out. Let her figure it out, because she's got what it takes, man. And you're gonna see magic happen. You know, when you think you're going slow enough, slow down some more, and just stand back and watch. You know, don't let them kill themselves, but stand back and watch. You know, and let them sort it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Anyways, man, I only share that with some people, only people I respect and value. So I really appreciate you guys, man.
No, appreciate the call. We're gonna start wrapping up here.
More too, okay, man.
Take
All right,
care.
Yeah, I know. I just took 2 hours of your time.
No worries.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks again.
Have a good one, y'all.
All right.
All right. All right. Bye-bye. Bye.
We are gonna start wrapping up. I don't know what Jedi's doing. She's been largely silent, which has me concerned. What's she doing?
She's watching androids and
eating
carrots.
All right, androids and carrots is fine. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're gonna wrap up. We'll be back tomorrow night, I guess, with more advice. You're gonna have to help drive.
Yeah.
What?
She heard her name.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was wondering what you were doing.
Daddy's wrapping up.
We're wrapping up. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you. At this point, we're going to leave you to your own devices and come back tomorrow night. I don't know if we're going to be doing this every single weekday next week. I think maybe once a week is fine. I wanted to try it like once a day, like, you know, just to see what happened. But
we didn't even get into microchipping.
Thank God. We'll save that for tomorrow. Okay. May the force be with you always.